It's Spoilerin time, folks. This show is predicated on taking all the things we learn on Cordkillers, our other show, and being able to use it to watch things and talk about them. This week, we are going to talk about the Larry Sanders Show, episodes 4 and 5 of season 5, Ellen or Isn't She, and the new writer. We're also going to talk about episode 5 of I Know This Much Is True, and Warrior Nun season 1, episodes 5 and 6. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Heck yeah. I didn't do my homework because I was playing The Last of Us Part 2. So, we'll talk about it when we get to the part. Joining us also is our producer extraordinaire, one Bryce Neshcom Castillo.
Hi, everybody.
Where shall we begin, gentlemen?
Let's begin with Warrior Nun, episodes 5 and 6 of season 1. Episode 5 is the one where Sister Lilith squares off against Mary in a fight to get on a boat and chase Ava, who's on a boat with her boyfriend JC. I'm going to call them boyfriends. I know they haven't said the word, but I'm gonna. They eventually get off the boat at the end of that episode. And episode 6 is Ava heading off into the hills with Mary, who's hurt herself, chasing after her, and they end up in a Spanish town, work at a restaurant.
Okay, so we have a...
It's all true. It's all true.
All of that is accurate. When you put it that way, it sounds like a very silly show.
It may not have been the most flattering description, but I enjoyed these episodes.
You're missing some demonic battles, I think, in those.
Okay, you're right.
Well, there is a bit of back and forth in that we begin to realize, like, oh, wait, it can't always be discovery of new supernatural things. This is not a 2-hour movie. This is not a 22-episode Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise. There's got to be some amount of, like, you've got the glowy thing. I want the glowy thing. Yeah, who deserves the glowy thing? And
that was episode 5, right? There was a lot of that going on.
Yeah. Lilith asserted her claim to the Halo, and then the second episode. What I thought was interesting was when you and I talked on the phone, I described the second episode as a trapped in an elevator situation. And you're like, yeah, because they're on a boat. And it's like, no, they're trapped in the elevator of the small Spanish town.
Right, because I was thinking literally when they were trapped in the bathroom.
Yes, correct. I mean, I'm digging all of it. It's feeling a little bit less transgressive than I would like. A big part of what I dug about Preacher and the young Pope and the new Pope is that transgression. They kept finding out new ways to make me be all like, ooh, that's naughty. I'm feeling that less in the last couple of episodes.
It's a little muddled, right? Because at first we look at the OAC, the whole order of the nuns and all, as like, oh, these are kind of the bad guys. They're chasing after her. They want the glowing thing. But then here we are halfway through the season, and they're like, their whole thing is just pitching on her to join them, right? And she eventually will.
Where it's like, you have a job to do, and I do like the ambiguity of like, hey, Lilith, yes, you were next in line, but you were never the leader Shannon was. Maybe, just maybe, Ava is the leader. You know, and so we're retreading some of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer territory, which I rather like. I mean, I'm into that.
Yeah, and the transgressive stuff comes from Ava a lot of the times, because the chosen one is someone who has no beliefs in any of this and just wants to have a good time, right?
Right.
And yet she's the chosen one. It also comes from the Cardinal, who obviously is not pure in his intentions, right?
He's got something going on.
He's got something going on. We don't know exactly what it is. And the Cardinal is entirely gone from this episode. Also, Ava's hanging out with JC in a rather wholesome manner on the boat. And then she's just hanging out with Mary in the second episode. So we don't have a lot of those opportunities for that transgressive stuff to happen. And I think it's on purpose. I think this is our, as IMDb, so, putting a hat on a hat calls it, Ava's come to Jesus moment, literally. this is where we see Lilith, who's a bad influence, but with a pure intention, right?
Correct.
Against Mary, who's got impure intentions. To be honest, we learn a lot about Mary in both these episodes, that she's not a sister and she's not always playing by the rules, but she definitely wants to do the right thing, whatever that is in the end. So she plays a little fast and loose with the organization.
Doesn't mind taking the shortcuts to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
She only has to follow 2 of the commandments.
I know, right? Like,
and they're in her left and right hand.
And then I actually, so the boat episode was okay. It was a little bit draggy for me. I loved the village episode. I thought, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for Ava to really come to terms with what she is experiencing. And I think we had to have her go on the boat and try to get away and fail to do that and actually do some good by driving out a demon from someone and see the power that she has. And then Mary leave her and go like, all right, now it's your call. And Mary's fully confident that she's going to make the right decision. I don't know that I am fully confident that Ava's going to do what Mary thinks, because Ava never does what anybody else thinks.
How many people at this point know Ava's entire backstory?
JC, Mary, her friend in the hospital,
the kid, and of course the
mother at the hospital,
her killer,
and Giles.
Yeah,
Giles,
and the nun who killed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but
about
that
5.
nun's dead,
Did she die?
right?
I don't think we saw.
I don't know if we know for sure. That's a good point.
I thought they implied that that Justice was
Never saw a body.
Yeah, don't see a body.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
not a lot of
maybe
people.
dead. Mostly dead. Yeah, not a lot of people. Not a lot of people know. I also now JC knows what she is. Like, JC doesn't just know her backstory. JC saw her fight a demon.
Saw her backside.
Yeah, her glowing
with a
backside.
halo.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
So we actually don't
if
know.
there was going to be a Dragon Con this year, my God, how many people would just have?
Yeah. Oh man, it would have been so exciting to be like, Ava, JC, Mary. We don't really know what JC's reaction is yet, right? Because he just kind of panicked, and then they were out of there.
What?
If I can so they fight the big battle, and that's where Lilith gets stabbed. And then at the end, is it that Ava and Mary like teleport away? Is that why no one else chased after them?
Oh, that's interesting. Because we know she can phase through
I thought
things.
Didn't Ava defeat the demon?
She did, but then I know that they were looking at the red wisp in its, because I was watching. I had the audio description on, and I'm that's why
audio description is the best.
It's very good,
like
especially
it's
for
so
this,
good
with
on
They just
on
got
Netflix.
out of there, right?
Okay.
Like,
Well, then it's very.
We don't know
weird that
what
JC
happened to
did.
JC. They kind of ditched him.
Yeah.
They didn't go after him. And then Lilith presumably is, in the netherworld. We don't know if she can survive that or not, but I would guess not.
Oh, maybe it was maybe it was Lilith who.
By the way,
Weird.
hot take here. Names of the episode. Stop giving me homework. I don't want to have to look up Isaiah 20.
Yeah, but the quotes are way too long to use as the name.
Okay, but do they even help? They just all
They're
sound like so much
always-
home. I mean,
Here's
yes,
why
I
they're
know
not-
they're related.
Here's why they're not homework, though. They're always related, but they're never revelatory.
Right.
So I looked them up and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, that applies. But they never add anything like, oh, and now I understand the episode better.
And
so
lo, 2 adversaries were trapped in an elevator, and thus they did
that was
learn
not an elevator,
to
but a
resolve their
village. And
differences.
don't confuse it with a boat, you idiot,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's not what we mean. Yeah, that's from the New International Version. Anything else on Warrior Nun, which I'm having so much fun enjoying watching.
And I think fun is the right word. What I'm worried about is I'm not feeling as many stakes as I'd like. Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, was also fun. But at some point, I began to feel stakes. And
In the heart.
Well, okay, I don't mean stakes. But
I mean, it's the science company, right? It's going to be the science company. That's
these 2 episodes don't have any of the stakes that we built up yet.
Exactly.
Right.
We're not really facing, like, what we're doing is we're getting comfy with our friends and learning what they care about.
Also,
I mean, Ava is in the wilderness, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens after 40 days in that village
nights.
eating hamon. I don't know. I'd just stay in the village if I were Ava. That is Warrior Nun, episodes 5 and 6 of season 1. We're going to talk about I Know This Much Is True, episode 5, season 1, but we are giving you a pass, Brian.
Yeah, look, we've talked about this before. It's probably a testament to how great a piece of art it is that I find it so painful to visit. Both with stories of him and his brother and questions about whether or not he's the good older brother or not, and then you give me a trigger warning that there's like dog related stuff or whatever, and it's like if you're okay, I'm just gonna take a short walk here while you guys talk about it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean. Yeah,
I think Bryce and I are fine finishing this out. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not a chicken. You're a chicken.
Get out.
So about the chickens at the beginning
about
of this
all those
episode.
chickens.
Yeah. Just wave at me, Bryce, when it's time to come back.
Gotcha.
And honestly, what Brian is referring to, the flashbacks to the Sicilian grandfather. So we're getting this device where he's reading the manuscript and we're seeing the events described in the manuscript from his grandfather, his voyage to America, his getting a job, his building his own house, but it's not romanticized in any way. In fact, he kills rabbits in a rather horrible way, and
then the
also
monkey,
and then kills a monkey that's his brother's pet.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to kind of unpack with this guy, right? Like, so we're reading his memoirs. And maybe it's meant to be a product of when Domenico was alive, but I don't know. If I was on, my deathbed and I wrote the story of my life and these are all the things that happened to me, I don't know that I would title it Bryce Castillo, the humble beginnings of a great man.
I think, but he keeps calling himself a great man early on. Like, I think he had decided, I will go to America and become a great man. And so everything I do is now defined as something that led to me becoming a great man. Whether it's getting my brother killed by snitching on the fact that he's cheating or that he is sleeping with someone's wife, whether it's, killing his monkey, whether it's, buying 2 women into marriage, one into marriage, one that he had to take, and forcing her to give him a son, which she doesn't do. She gives birth to a woman, as we know, which is Dominic's mother. It's him thinking he's always doing the right thing. We're always the hero of our own story. Right. And us going, yeah, man, no, that's awful. And I think that's intentional. Like, he is unaware of how horrible he is.
Cause I think I mentioned this either last Spoilerin time or the one before, where like Dom is like not making good choices, right? Like pulling his brother out of Hatch is probably not a good idea for him. He's doing it because he wants to be with his brother and he thinks his brother should be in a better facility. But his way of doing it, of saying like, I'm going to take care of him, which we see him doing at the end of this episode, screw this system. Like, maybe the system actually is better for him. Maybe like maybe there are mechanisms meant to help people like Thomas who just because you're his twin doesn't make you the best keeper for him. And I think I wonder if the script is meant to be, or the manuscript is meant to be like the pushing motivation for Dom, as in like, no, take advantage, take what you want, which Domenico does, right? He gets his land, he lets his brother go, doesn't really mourn his death, kills the brother's pet because it's annoying him, right? Kills the rabbits, like all of these. He lives for himself, which is kind of what Dom is doing by taking Thomas out, and I'm assuming that hopefully that's the moral of the story that we get next week, which is like, you're not the best keeper, even if you want to be.
But Dominic thinks that he's cursed by the sister who cursed Domenico, his grandfather, and that's why bad things are happening to him. He's convinced by the manuscript that that's what's happening. If he were to be like his grandfather, he'd let Thomas die and hatch. He wouldn't care that Ralph said alleged that Thomas was being abused. He would just live for himself if he was following his grandfather's way of doing things. No,
definitely if it was to the same degree, but I think ripping him out of Hatch before he's ready or without a new facility to take him is still, maybe it's a different degree, but it's still selfish, right?
So, yeah. But it's selfish in a different way. It's
right.
not because he wants to be a great man. It's because he's manipulated by Ralph. Honestly, they find no evidence that any abuse occurred. Maybe it did, and they couldn't find, and the evidence got covered up. But I feel like Ralph planted this with him in order to get him to do what is not in his best interests or Thomas's best interests.
Yeah, that seems very likely. I mean, they clearly don't have a good relationship between Dom and Ralph. Ralph has all of the reason to make Thomas and Dom's life bad. Also, did you think it was weird that Domenico also knew a Drinkwater?
Oh yeah, no, I mean that's obviously the beginnings of this family feud, right?
Yeah, but
starts back then.
That was definitely more of a coincidence than maybe it should have been. But I
don't think it's a coincidence at all. I think what we're being set up to learn here is that the Drinkwater Domenico feud began then.
Interesting. My guess, my prediction for next week is that Dom realizes via the exaggeration of Domenico's actions in his manuscript, what he is doing with and to Thomas is a shade of what Domenico did, and that there is no curse and there's no beating a curse. You got bad luck. You got a bad hand and you're playing it bad, and actually great man would make the right call even when it's not easy, not just the thing that you want.
An actual great man would notice that Dessa is wanting to make up. And not lash out at her for trying to read the manuscript, right?
Oh yeah, bizarre. Bad anger management from Dom on that scene.
Dominic is his own worst enemy for sure, and Ralph is his second worst enemy.
I also liked Rosie O'Donnell's been great this whole show.
Oh, she's been amazing. Yeah.
And she had a great scene. I don't know if we'll see her again. I don't know if Dom will pick up the phone whenever she finds a new facility for Thomas, but I think in having this kind of ambiguous character, right, you always have the concern that he kind of lobs at her of like, well, you're just a company man, a company gal, and you're just trying to cover your boss's ass, the business's ass. And I think she plays really interesting, right? We don't really get a perfect, like you said, a perfect clear-cut explanation of the report and the sexual abuse, and the HIV test comes back negative, and so I think that ambiguity is like a really strong part to this.
Yeah, I do. I don't think we're going to see her again, though. We only got one more episode, and I think everything's just about to fall apart. I think the next episode is going to tell us about Dominic's parentage, and I think that's going to be a blow. And I think the resolution of Dominic and Thomas will happen. And if I know anything about this show, it's not going to be a happy resolution.
So this is another thing, right? So their curse is that they don't. Well, it's interesting. I guess we have curse in two flavors here, right? the original curse of your whole family is screwed up and you're going to have trauma and everyone will be afflicted by it, the family curse, but also Domenico's curse of you're not going to have sons. Well, here is Dom and Thomas, who are two men, and yeah, maybe that indicates, I don't know, but that's
my belief
giving
this whole
credence to
time
the
is
curse.
that the grandfather is the father of Dominic and Thomas, hence the higher probability for schizophrenia, and
The grandfather is the father?
Oh yeah,
Is he?
that's been my theory since episode 1. Is that the grandfather is the father, which is why they never spoke about who the father was, and hence the schizophrenia. And it's going to come out in the manuscript that the grandfather viewed this as defeating the curse.
Ooh, that sounds very plausible, Tom. It sounds
Disgustingly plausible.
It sounds plausible. I don't know that I would be interested in what all the timelines on that are. I mean, because Domenico comes in through Ellis Island, but I don't know. America is not that old.
I don't remember if we know for sure that the grandfather was still alive when they were born. That's all that would make it possible. Is the grandfather still needs to be alive when Dominic and Thomas were born?
Yeah.
That I don't know.
And them heading off to the falls at the end of this episode this week is feels like a bad omen.
Oh, it's not a good thing.
It's gonna be bad.
No, somebody's going over the falls.
Oh no. Ugh, gosh.
Just saying.
Yeah.
All right. That is, I Know This Much Is True, episode 5 of its only season 1.
There we go. We're getting Brian back in now for Larry Sanders.
Let's talk about the Larry Sanders Show, episodes 4 and 5 of season 5. 2 big name actors currently, and one of them was a pretty big name even back then, Ellen DeGeneres, and of course Sarah Silverman in The New Writer. Brian, where do you want to start?
Man, I don't even know. Like, it's hard to even remember the controversy.
Eleanor, isn't she all focuses around dancing around the idea that we can't admit that Ellen DeGeneres is a lesbian at a time when that's not even like, nobody even cares, right?
Well, I mean, certainly not now, right? But at the time, it was a very
at a time
big deal.
now, nobody cares. But back then they couldn't admit it.
To be honest, I was just infatuated by the fact that Sarah Silverman was on there, who would later become a Disney princess. Like, it's insane to me.
Wait, what Disney princess is Sarah Silverman?
She's in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, Princess
Wreck-It Ralph.
Vanellope. Yeah.
That is not the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Sarah Silverman, but I love her. I adore her. And I think she's one of the most talented comics out there. And it was odd. Not that I think, Ellen DeGeneres is a major star now, right? With her own talk show and everything. But I consider them in, pretty close
Orbits.
Proximity as far as fame goes. And Sarah Silverman couldn't even go by her own name. She's just playing a writer that gets brought in to kind of highlight the problems of a female employee at the time in a writer's room. And Phil is just horrible. Whereas Ellen DeGeneres plays Ellen because she's Ellen on the show Ellen.
Right. But even then, she's not capital E Ellen.
She's Ellen Show Ellen, which is, they even mentioned like flailing as a television show.
Right. And now I would love to know the chronology of how they like had she already come out by that point?
No, she had not.
No, per IMDb,
Really?
This episode aired in December 1996. Ellen would come out on Time magazine in April 97. So about
Classic headline, "Yep, I'm gay."
about 4. Yep, that's right. About 4 months later. So at this point, like, it is so an open talking point that, like, this whole episode, I watched this whole episode and had the same question, Brian. I was like, is this post or pre?
I had to go look it up
out?
too. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, because
I'll tell you what,
figured it was before because they didn't. They played it. They played it. If you didn't want to believe Ellen was gay, you could watch this episode and go, they're just joshing around with this concept. I mean, she obviously slept with Larry. Of course she's not gay. right? They left it ambiguous.
Now
that
she's
way.
like the new Oprah, powerful and 100% out as gay, and in all of her Ellen wonderfulness. It was really weird to watch her make out with Larry Sanders.
Dig. I love the dig of like, well, you know, if you were feminine enough.
yeah, right. And then she trashes him on the show, right? Oh, no, I thought it was very, very good.
It's a genius episode, given its time. I think, given what the constraints I imagine they were
given the
working
way
within.
the world happened to have turned out.
Yeah,
right.
Because I don't imagine Larry Sanders couldn't have said she was gay for HBO's purposes. I imagine Ellen was the one controlling that and saying, "This is the line I want to walk right now."
Yeah, I mean, her being a part. I mean, in the episode, she is a major part of it, and there's a version of this script, I'm sure, where she's not involved and maybe doesn't give her blessing. And it's a lot of talking around and Ellen's just about to be on the show, but all these other, you know, like this actually feels very involved with Ellen herself. And I think that's what makes it feel light and not, I
think the part
nasty.
that really worked for me was the dance they did, where it was like, oh, you know, it'd be really hilarious is if we did this and then you kissed me. And then, no, it'd be even funnier if you kissed me like this. And then it's like, oh my God, what if we did this? And then, you know, smash cut to they're waking up in the morning or whatever.
I also love, now that I'm thinking about it, like this episode is gender fluid.
Well,
at a time when you wouldn't, no one talked about that idea.
Correct. And this was occurring, man. Hello, children. 25 years ago, everything tended to be fairly binary. You were either one thing or another thing.
But
the idea
knowing
that
now
you could
that
be
Ellen is gay for sure,
right.
Having her make out with Larry is like, yeah, but she could also like Larry. Why not? Like, nothing wrong with that.
Right. We have been introduced to the idea of the slider scale of the spectrum, you know, which, man, for early 90s comedy, that's pretty advanced stuff, man.
Yeah. No, it makes me go back to your point, Bryce, that Ellen was involved in the creation of this episode.
Yeah. Has to be, right? I mean, she's it's cool. I don't know. It's great. Also, the B plot of the budget was just fun. Great.
Everybody knowing each other's salaries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or well, and also it's like the different frameworks through which you yeah, but I did this for him. It's like, yeah, but I do even more for this other guy. And, you know, it's like, but I've been here longer, but I've, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about that Sarah Silverman episode, The New Writer, which again, it tries to hit on the issue of women in the writer's room and the prejudices they face. I thought it was a little unbelievable that Phil was suddenly that guy. It felt like they were like, well, Phil's the character we have in that role, so we have to make him that guy. I'm not sure it was terribly consistent.
Yeah. And especially because Phil has previously, you know, acted, you know, fairly equitably, and
we know he's selfish.
He's been a good guy. Yeah.
We know he's a selfish character, but we've never seen it manifest in that way of like very openly saying women aren't funny.
Yeah, exactly. He was very blunt about like, well, women just aren't funny. That's just the way it is. And I don't know. That aside, that sort of weird, like, I don't want to hold Larry Sanders up to the fire of character continuity too hard. I thought that Sarah Silverman was fantastic at navigating like, okay, here's what I'm willing to put up with. Here's what I'm not, and playing that character really well.
In the chat, they're pointing out this is the first Mary Lynn Rathscub episode, which I totally. There was that brief moment where I'm like, hey, has she been on this and I've not noticed?
Yeah, they never introduced her. They just like, oh, she's always been here. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Janine Garoff, who?
Right.
Who did she play? It's Mary Lou Collins. I don't know who. I don't.
Mary Lynn Rathscub later, like I believe her peak was as playing the character Colleen Henry on 3 seasons of 24.
Sure. Sorry. I mean, in this episode, who is her character? I don't remember.
She's just one of the office workers.
Oh,
one of the people in Larry's office who's always been there. We just never noticed her before. Bryce.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary.
Yeah, I feel bad, but there you go. And then we can't not talk about the weird Kevin Nealon plot.
I to be honest, that didn't do much for me outside of all of that felt like a wind up to a bit where he could take a dump on Hank, right? I mean,
yeah.
Like, what? Your job? Do you realize who and what you are? You're an embarrassment to yourself. I'm Kevin Nealon. Why? Oh my God. That's hilarious that you would want, yeah.
It felt like an inside joke that somehow made it onto the show, and I didn't quite get. Like, I get the idea of Kevin Nealon being out of work and yet taking the side gig, but then also taking it and talking about liking it. I don't know. It was odd.
Yeah.
Felt like I was missing something to appreciate it perfectly.
Haven't we also had an episode of celebrity is hanging around the office? Why are they hanging around the office? Get out of here.
Maybe that's just a thing that happens a lot in these talk shows.
Maybe.
Or maybe they're on their 5th season and there are only so many story ideas to work with.
You're saying that the booker is having less of a hard time than the writer?
Yes, I did like, well, I could get you blank. And then the writers are like,
if you want to do something, we'll totally be on.
If you want to do that again, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Also, it turns out Paula's in the chat room points out that Janine Garofalo has 2 more episodes left to air because they were shot out of the order in which they air. So we will see Paula again for a couple more times, and then she'll be gone.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That is the Larry Sanders Show, episodes 4 and 5 of season 5. Thank you all for supporting us on Patreon, making these spoiler in time episodes possible. You get them faster if you're a patron. So we appreciate you doing that so that we can get them to you for that. We will spoil you again.
Hold on. You definitely need to tell everybody that we're about to have a secret conversation about devs. We're about to do a secret spoiler in time.
Yeah, don't miss After Talk, people on Patreon, because we're going to talk about devs. We'll spoil you again next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.